After a slow start, Ayo Dosummu has continued to build up momentum, and now the question is, should he be starting for the Chicago Bulls? We're going to be talking about what that means for the Chicago Bulls if he does start. This is your host, Rico Greenhowe, and welcome to another episode of Bulls Digest. And so today we are looking at the possibility of Ayo starting for the Chicago Bulls, and should he really start for the Chicago Bulls? And so let me start by saying this. I think that, just personally, I feel like he should be starting, and this is just from the eye test before we jump into it. And I just think that he provides a lot of things that the Chicago Bulls need, mainly defense to start with, and then also, too, there is a lot of other things that he does. And so just to kind of bring out this point of why I think that Ayo should be a starter, this dates back to an article that was posted right around the third game of the preseason, and it was talking about the possibility of Ayo coming off the bench and being the first guard off the bench, and talking about just how this Chicago Bulls team is struggling or was going to struggle defensively. And I think it's interesting that, yes, the Chicago Bulls have struggled defensively. We see that here throughout the season. But also now we are starting to see that Ayo Dosummu has really made a case for being in the starting lineup, which is something that is talked about in this article that could be a real possibility. And so, to start off, I think that he should be in the starting lineup because, one, he's had experience. Because going into this year, he had started 128 games out of 233 games. So he definitely had the experience coming into this year. Most notably, throughout the time, at the time of this recording, he has started in 11 of the 24 games played for the Chicago Bulls. And so, we see that he has the experience. We know that he can do that. And now, he also provides the defensive presence that we need. He's also shown this really in his time, the first 3 years in the league, but he's also showing this now that he's a player that can go out there. He can guard 1 to 5. He also can go out there and really affect the team, in several different ways on the defensive end. He can play the passing lanes. He's tough. When he comes off of screens, he fights over those. And then the physicality that he gives you as well, that is something that we love to see. It's something that we need out there. And I would say this. If we thought that maybe Ayo was perhaps the second best defender on the team going into this year, I think you could argue he might be the best defender, because with Patrick Williams having these injuries and having to sit out, I think that Ayo Dosummu's defense has actually shown you that, just how valuable he's been. He's been consistent as well. And I feel like he's starting to take another step forward after this slow start. And so, those are two reasons why. It's the experience, and also, too, we know that he brings the defense. But next up, he's also giving you, the mentality, right, in going into this thing. You love his mentality. You love the fact that him as a competitor, and that him just, willing to do anything that it takes for this team to win. And I love what this article says here when asked about this. And he's saying, look, I don't go into this year just thinking, from a competitor standpoint, that I'd love to come off the bench. Paraphrasing this, but you can see it for yourself. He's understanding the situation going into this year when we had Kobe White, we have Zach, we have Vooch, we have Pat, we also have Josh Giddey starting ahead of him, and he's okay with that as long as it means winning. And I just thought to myself when I saw Joakim Noah at the game, this last game against the Pacers, and I'm thinking to myself, I think that Joakim Noah would have loved to play with Ayo Dosummu because of that, because of the fact that he has this mentality as a competitor. It's something that you love about that, and the fact that he's willing to do whatever it takes to run through the wall, really, to get this team a win. You love that, and that's another reason why I think I would like to have him on the floor, and why I think it makes sense, because he really feeds off of being with Kobe White and these other players in the starting lineup. And I think that energy is something that we need. And I think it certainly could change maybe this team if we're looking to win some more games this year, if you do possibly put him out there with Patrick Williams. And so next up, another thing that I do like about Ayo is when we look at the numbers. Look, I talked about the fact that he has done it as a scorer. You're seeing it for yourself that, he's picking up steam here, because over his his last 7 games going into this last game against the Pacers, he was averaging 16.7 points a game, 5.7 assists a game, 1.4 steals a game, and he was shooting 42.3% from 3. He also was shooting 60.5% from the field. And the Chicago Bulls were responding pretty well to this. And now they're 4-4. They were 4-3 going into this last game, but those were the stats going into this last game. And so you just see just how well he's doing. And when you look at the career numbers, you're seeing that, look, even after a slow start, he's up in rebounds. He's up to 3.8 rebounds. You see that he's also up in assists at 4.5 assists. So that lets you know that he's a willing distributor of the basketball and he understands how to find teammates. You see that his free throw attempts are up as well. And that's one thing that you love about Ayo and why I don't worry about him, because even with the three-point shot struggling, he's still out there putting pressure on the rim. He's attacking the rim. He's finding ways to put the ball in the basket. That's why you love that about him. And his free throw percentage is slightly up. And you're also seeing that his minutes are trending up a bit. So he's now at 29.7, which lets you know that he is getting the trust out of Billy Donovan. And that really leads me into this next point with Billy Donovan, because, Billy Donovan has talked about, earning minutes. He's talked about going out there and making sacrifices and things like this. And it's like, we see this with Modest Buzelis. And so I just think that Ayo is going out there and he's letting his play really speak for him. And I think that this is where Billy Donovan has to be in his coaching bag. And something that I talked about really going into this year is that he's going to have to make a tough decision. And I think that as Ayo continues to play well, as this team continues to struggle defensively, if Billy Donovan is trying to win games and he's not necessarily prioritizing player development, then you have got to throw him out there. And, even if you are trying to get some player development in there, or if this is an element to it and you're looking to keep Ayo, then I think that you need to put him out there. You need to play him with some players that you're looking to possibly go ahead and build around. Because, at the end of the day, we need Ayo Dosummu to play as much as possible, especially if you're looking to build upon him. And we also need him if you're looking to go ahead and shore up this defense. And this is the last thing that I'll say about this, because we go back and we look at his triple-double where he had the 27 points, he had the 11 assists, the 10 rebounds on 9 of 13 shooting. He was also 6 of 6 from the free throw line. But look, he became the youngest player with a 25-point triple-double since Jay Williams in 2002 versus the Nets. This is a graphic that I found here on ESPN, but it just lets you know that I think that not only are you getting a great defender, you're getting a scorer, but I think you're looking at some untapped potential with Ayo, which really leads me down to the question of, like, do we really want to put Ayo out there on the trading block? Because for a second round pick, I think that I'm not in the front office, I'm not a GM or anything like that, but I would have to think that most GMs around the league are going to want a player like Ayo. I think that they would want a player like Kobe White as well. And yes, I think that, both of them have a favorable contract. And yes, I think that both of these players can go on really any team in the league and be an effective player. And so if you're going to have the price tag high on our players out there, you had better make sure that you have a high price tag on a player like Ayo Dosummu if you are looking to move on from him, because these are players that I think that most GMs would love to have really hit on in the NBA draft between those two players. And so, that's my personal opinion. I think that, yes, Ayo should be starting for this team, especially if we're looking to really shore up things defensively. We're trying to bring that mentality out there of a player that is willing to run up the chimney. Then he's a player that you want. And I think that he's become a lot more of a vocal leader, and I think that that really rubs off on the team. And to add to it, if Patrick Williams is your best defender, you know that Ayo is your best defender, you need to put him out there, because last year you would go with Ayo, you would go with Alex Caruso, you would go with Javonte Green, and you see the difference in the defense. We don't have either of those players, but the more defensive players that you have out there, the better it's going to help you on the defensive end. But not only are you going to get a good defensive player, you're going to get a player that can play some offense. So let me know in the comments what you think about this. Do you think that, yes, you feel like Ayo should be in the starting lineup? Do you feel like, no, he should still be in the on the bench? And lastly, do you feel like the Chicago Bulls should go out there and trade him? I'd love to hear your thoughts out there in the comments, so let me know. I just want to thank everybody out there for liking, sharing, and subscribing to the comment or to the videos. It means a lot to us here as we try to reach our goal of 5,000 subscribers by the end of the NBA season out there. Want to let you know about 69.4% of you that watch are not subscribed to the channel, so make sure that you go ahead and you slam dunk on that subscribe button for us, as it means a lot to us here as we try to reach that goal. Look, even though the Chicago Bulls are just really not sure the direction that they want to go in, we see that there's a lot of moving pieces with this team. I'm still saying that they're eventually going to get there, and until then, I'm saying go Bulls, and I'll see you on the next one. All right, peace.